My intention today is to describe a beautiful and astounding and massive in scope change that's going on in your world. And to do it in such a way that you can see it for yourself. A lot of the things I've said over the last 5 years have been, I changed this underlying thing. And as far as I know, there are 7 people on the entire planet who can sense some of those things. So probably anybody listening to this said, oh, I didn't see any difference. What's cool, what's amazing, right now, February of 2016, 9 o'clock at night in the Netherlands. This is the year I have called the year of revelation. This is a year when a lot of those things come to the surface. And this thing that I have been seeing so strongly lately is a thing at the surface. It means it's a thing that you can see for yourself. You can feel, you can notice. I imagine that a lot of you are where I was, 30 years ago, looking at the newspaper or whatever the modern equivalent of a newspaper is, saying the world doesn't look any better today than yesterday. You're probably still reading the news and it's all, this actor's dating that actor, or here's the latest fashion trend, or here's all the things wrong in your world. And if you're one of those people who, like me, decades ago, had trouble seeing change in the world, I want to give you a way to see that change. And you won't find it in the newspaper or modern equivalent. Now, I know I've said things like this next caveat emptor here many times, but I'm struggling. I nearly came very, very close to dying 3 weeks ago. Didn't know if I would survive. And I'm finally recovering from that and being able to breathe again. But I've been doing some work and I'm very, very, very drained. And so I will have a hard time saying this in a way that makes sense. So if you wish to listen, bear with me in a difficult process as I try to share it with you. Now understand that I used to go out every day, wherever I was in the world, and I've traveled a lot, and sit in the busiest public place I could find and watch people, to notice the changes that were going on in the people around me. This last 2 years, I have not been strong enough to walk downstairs, so I cannot go outside. These last 2 years, I have not been able to watch people, and it makes it very difficult not to be out there amongst people, studying them and noticing what's going on in their lives, in them and between them. And so what I have created for a substitute is YouTube. And I've watched, never the YouTube recommended things, but I've found a group of people, an interesting group of people who play different sorts of games. And I watch them play games, or watch them and listen to them talk. People like, for instance, Kevin Smith, the film director, who recently started a YouTube channel. And there are 50 people on my list of people I keep track of, but half of those are ones that I don't watch at all. They're people who are interesting, but over the last year they've been doing so much shadow and anger and frustration and hatred that they've just kind of been shuffled into a shadow folder. So really there are maybe 20 people that I watch on a day-to-day basis. That's still a lot of videos, but... And there's something I've noticed. Now, I don't want you to take away the conclusion that a few YouTube presenters are being affected. I want you to remember that I can't go outside to study people. And so this is my kind of not so random sample, like a scientist would take a random sample and test them. This is my not so random sample of people that I've been watching going through this change and how the changes are affecting them, people from all over this world. for 2 years I have been working on underlying processes of change in your world. 5 years ago, your world was a place that was totally a world of shadow. There was very little light. Even the good guys, the heroes of the past, have often been creatures who were rooted in shadow. This wasn't Luke Skywalker fighting against Darth Vader, good versus bad. This was Luke Skywalker, a creature of shadow, fighting against Darth Vader, a creature of shadow. This has kind of been the history of your world, where only shadow exists. In the last 5 years, we have been changing that. And your world is now a world that is rooted in light. The thing with roots is what's under the roots has to be pulled in and brought up to the plant, and it takes the plant a while to change. So while I've been making these big changes, while we've been making these big changes in your world, it's not always obvious. If you look at your newspaper or your Facebook or however you get your news, you may not be seeing the changes I've predicted. Well, here are some changes I've predicted. I've predicted that those who are intentionally choosing to base themselves in fear, anger, violence, the need to control others, to manipulate, to hurt, to take resources from others so they can have more, things that have been part of your world forever, but things that are shadow, that these people will be having a harder time. Now, I have predicted moving forward that harder time will grow clearer and stronger. By clearer, I mean more precise. If somebody is using their voice, they're a public speaker, to spread fear and anger, like, I don't know, many preachers or folks in the news and so on. They're using their voice and their words to spread the shadow and affecting people adversely. Their voice will be taken away. If people are using their money to spread shadow in the world, a good example might be Disney or Google, both very shadow companies, their money will be taken away. If they're using their social skills will get taken away. That the work will become more and more tuned. That's what I mean by the focus. And by getting stronger, what I mean is its effect will be more instant and more powerful. So, somebody starts yelling at their kid, immediately they start choking up and coughing and wondering why they're having trouble making words come out. That kind of immediate. Eventually, I expect, I hope, I dream of seeing, living in a world where anytime somebody raises a hand to a child, they lose the use of that arm instantly. It's just paralyzed. That's what I'd like to see. Anybody who goes to abuse another instantly loses that. Perhaps that sounds a bit extreme, but it hasn't happened yet, so don't worry too much about it. And that those who are doing things right, things will just be changing in their favor. Right? Those who speak to share light or life or joy or hope or love with people, their speaking will get better. Those who use their mind will get better. Those who use the money will have more money. And this year, 2016, I have begun to see evidence of this that is so strong and clear that you can see it. Now, at the risk of somebody hearing this and knowing the people I'm talking about, I will intentionally change some names and some details. I'm not lying to you, I'm just trying to avoid people being afraid by being pointed out. There is a fella I've watched for a long time who's got, under 500,000 subs on YouTube, but still a lot. And he plays a lot of war games. Now, I object to war and violence, even in games. But this guy, he's got something really amazing, really magical. And so I've been watching him anyway, even though he plays more violent games. And I have predicted that people using their mind will grow more stupid. People using their voice will lose their voice. And that people acting in opposition to the light in service of shadow, they'll start having a lot of things go wrong. And I've called this factor luck. And so this young man that I've been watching over the last 3 months, he's gotten more and more stupid. He was considered to be one of the world's best in this war game he played. And over the last 2 months, it's gotten painful to watch him. And it's not just me. I've shown this video to others, and they say, who is this guy? Why is he so stupid? And I've read his comments, and sometimes between a half and 3/4 of his comments are, you suck at this game. How did you miss that? You're such a moron. What's wrong with you? In a place where the YouTube comments, in a world where YouTube comments are becoming more and more positive, he's had so many say, you're so bad at this game, I'm going to unsub from your channel. It's not watching you anymore. It's not worth watching you. And he's gotten more and more stupid and begun to make mistakes. And he's repeatedly gotten sick and lost his voice for a day or two at a time. And the most fascinating thing is he's had bad luck. In a given encounter, the computer will generate a random number between 0 and 9. And you should score generally evenly across those numbers. And over the last 2 months, it's gotten so bad that he talks about it all the time. He said, every time I play this, it rolls 0 or 1. It rolls the absolute worst. This isn't possible. And I've watched it. He will roll a 0 and then a 1 and then 2 zeros. Right? That's way less than a 1% chance of happening by random. And it happens over and over and over. And on those rare days where he's not angry and aggressive, where he's actually laughing and having fun, the random number generation works like it should. It just, the luck plays out so consistently. He's done co-op plays with other friends, and he points it out. Look, every time I do the roll, it rolls a 0 or 1. He thinks the game is bugged in some way because it always goes wrong for him. And if this happened once or twice, it'd be a fluke. But this has happened over and over and over again, day after day, many videos a day, for more than 2 months now. And he just released a video recently saying, I'm sick. Right? I upload a video every 3 hours, and have for 2 or 3 years. And I am too sick to make videos, and I don't know what's wrong. Right? Doctors have checked, and they don't know what's wrong. But I'm too sick, I can barely talk. And he said it's gone on long enough that all my backlog of videos is used up. So you guys just aren't going to get videos for a while, or get very few. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Now, if you were to watch this guy, you probably wouldn't see what I mean by shadow, because this is not surface. This is stuff where you need to look below the surface to the structure, or below that to the fundamental, and most people can't do it. But it doesn't matter. The world at large, the system knows that he is doing shadow, and has been consistently shutting him down. Not being unkind, not hurting him, just gently taking away one thing after another. And from comments he's made, he's beginning to have trouble with his family, he's having trouble with his wife, he's having trouble with his kids. So many things in his life are going wrong. And now he simply can't make videos for YouTube anymore. Something that's been a huge part of his life for years, and he can't do it. Another person, and I'll change some details here, but another person posted a video recently, said, I just got out of the hospital, and I've been really, really sick, and the doctors can't figure out what's wrong. They've done all these tests, but I keep coming down with something they can't diagnose. I'm scared because the doctors can't find an answer, and this sickness keeps coming back, and I can't make videos. Right, out of the small number of people I watch, 20 people, maybe 2 of them, just this last week have said, I can't make videos for YouTube because I'm too sick, and I've been too sick for too long. Now, on the other side, there's a young man, and you're welcome to check out his channel. He goes by the name Lathrix. His channel might be called Lathland on YouTube. But a year ago, I watched him when he had just, I don't know if it was a year ago, but I watched him when he had under 1,000 subs, a couple hundred subs. And he was angry, and he was broken, and he was always saying, I'm in service of the dark gods of disease. I want to see the world destroyed. I mean, just stupid, ugly shit. But there was something in him that just celebrated that darkness. And he had a stutter so bad he could hardly speak. And in the last year, he has changed that so immensely. He's begun to do things from joy and play and enthusiasm, and he has gone in less than a year from under 1,000 subs on YouTube to having over 100,000 subs on YouTube. Just radical growth. And every so often he'll mispronounce a word and say, well, that's because I have this terrible stutter I can't possibly get over. But once in 10 minutes of talking, he'll mispronounce a word. It used to be that he couldn't say a single sentence without stuttering. But because he's using his voice to share joy and love and light and life with people, his voice is getting better and better. And he does it with this brilliant confidence and joy and passion. I celebrate. He didn't get it all right. Old Lathra screws up sometimes. But increasingly, he's being so beautiful in what he's doing that I celebrate watching his videos. I celebrate how far this boy has come. There are maybe 8 people I've started watching their videos lately who were way down at the bottom of my folder because everything they made last year, it physically hurt me to watch it. It had so much hate and fear in it. And now they're playing games where they're building things instead of killing things. And they're playing in groups and they're laughing and saying this is so much fun and what else can we do and how can we play? And people in the comments are saying, hey, we want you to play this violent game where you're killing things. I think I'm done with that game. This is a lot more fun, just creating stuff and not killing things. And these people, they've gone from feeling to me so horrible to speaking in joy and fun, life and light and passion and love. And it's amazing to see what's happening. And there are many, many more examples. There are many examples I've been seeing out there, but I'm seeing it so consistently that when somebody's doing a lot of anger, fear, frustration, aggression, trying to control people, trying to intimidate, trying to hurt people, trying to scare people, that within minutes sometimes they start to look sick, they start to have trouble talking, they develop rings under their eyes and they need to sit down. Just within minutes, I'm seeing this change in people. And the people who keep doing it day after day, the anger, the fear, the shadow, the celebration of the ugliness of the world and the dancing to that tune and the acting out of that shadow, they are growing weaker and weaker and ending up in hospital and ending up too sick to function. And those who are doing it right, even the little people, the insecure, the ones with disabilities, the ones nobody ever listened to, I don't mean little as in unimportant. I mean little in that they've had very little effect on the world so far. Suddenly they're standing up and they're talking and they have a sense of confidence about them, of beauty, of joy. And people are watching them and listening to them. And things are just working out in their life. They're having this amazing luck. It's just for the people who are pursuing all of the things based in joy. Everything is working out for them. And for people living in a way that is based in fear, in anger, in aggression, in hatred, in racism, in sexism, in sexual and gender bias, in religious crap that's all about we hate you because you worship the wrong God. All of these people who base their life in hate and fear and anger, they're growing sick, they're growing weak. People don't want to listen to them. They look stupid. They're socially uninteresting, they're boring to listen to, they're frustrating or annoying to listen to. And they're getting sick and they're losing their money and they're losing their fans and things are falling apart. And for those doing it right, the opposite, everything's getting better. Yeah. Now, if you're listening to this, I don't want you to go out and look and say, all right, who's making a lot of money? They must be doing it right. What I'm showing you are the first drops of rain. The very first bits of water hitting the ground. What will be this torrential downpour in a world that's been suffering from drought for so long. This will be this glorious rainfall, and we're seeing just the first tiny drops. We're seeing just the first flowers in spring, whereas in the very near future there will be flowers and green grass and buds on all the trees. Spring will be here in full. But for right now, this is just the beginning. Do not go out and look for those who are successful now. What I want you to begin to do is watch the people in your life. Watch the people you know. Watch the people you pay attention to. And when they say something or do something, notice how it makes you feel. Does it make you relax? Does it make your shoulders settle down? Is it easier to smile or laugh when they're talking? If so, they're probably doing it from a place of joy. When they talk, do your shoulders come up? Does your brow tense a bit, or your jaw get tense, your hands start to tense? Do you start to breathe a little more like an animal getting ready for a fight, all these tension reactions? Do you start to be a bit scared or angry or frustrated? If somebody talks to you, I don't care if they're a famous preacher, a great politician, if every time they talk you get angry, they are people of shadow. I don't care if they run the biggest public health or public service organizations in the world. I don't care if they're the most famous people in the world. If when they talk you start to get angry, they're probably creatures of shadow. They're probably acting in shadow. So notice how people make you feel. If they make you feel angry, they're probably doing something wrong. Or watch another example, Kirael, spelled with a K. You can look him up on YouTube. When that boy talks, it's difficult not to relax. His voice is so soothing and beautiful. It's because he's doing it right. He's finding joy and beauty and life and passion and celebration and creation. And he's expressing these things. And it's so lovely to watch him talk. If you find someone like that in your life, they're probably doing it right. And I want you to watch these people. The people who are based in shadow, increasingly you're going to notice that they're unlucky, that chances fail. They lose a job or lose a contract or get in a fight or break up with their spouse or their lover. Things just keep going wrong for them. And the people doing it right, they're more lucky. So this is my first warning. Don't look at just those who are successful or just those who are struggling. Rather, look at the change. This isn't midsummer, this is the first flowers of spring. Okay? My second warning is not to be too judgmental on this. For instance, I know somebody who's been doing it right and just beautiful, and his wife left him recently. You say, clearly his wife left him, he must be doing it wrong. No, his wife was an angry, bitter, shrewish woman who made his life very, very difficult. And he's sad that she left. And he thinks it's a bad thing, but I feel it's a good thing. Because he doesn't wake up every day to someone yelling at him and telling him he's worthless. He wakes up every day to a space of peace and silence, where he has a chance to start to forgive and to let go and to heal. So just because a relationship ends or somebody loses a job, it doesn't necessarily mean they're doing it wrong. It may be the job wasn't right for them and they're lucky that it ended, even if they're not happy or they don't know it. It may be lucky that their wife or husband left them, because it gives them a chance to grow they didn't have, right? So the luck is not going to be winning the lottery and, suddenly being taller and beautiful and having bigger tits. The luck is going to be things that gives you more of what you need in life. And the bad luck is going to be taking away from you the things that allow you to spread your anger and fear to others. So just those two caveats I encourage you to keep track of. But with that in mind, this is an absolutely astounding time. Because for 2 years now I've been predicting you would see these results. And now for the first time you actually can. Now for the first time you can begin to look around and see those who are acting increasingly from joy. Not all the time, but increasingly. And things are going better from them. And those who are choosing anger and fear and violence, and things are going worse for them. You can actually see this change in your world. And I predict that this change will increase and grow until everything in your world that's acting from anger, from fear, from violence, from hate, from a desire to control and abuse, all those things are going to be stripped of power. And if they keep going, they're going to end up in a hospital or even in a coma. And those people, maybe ones you've never even noticed, who are acting from joy, they're going to become the most beautiful, the most amazing, the most popular. They're going to stand out to you in ways they never have before. This is an absolutely astounding time of change. And I encourage you not to be judgmental, not to be too quick to jump on judgment here, but simply to watch this and study. Because for years I've been talking about it. And right now, in the beginning of 2016, is the first chance you've actually had to see it happening in your own life, in the lives of those around you, in those on YouTube or movies or television or wherever it is, you get your entertainment. You can see it happening. You can see the first flowers of spring. And if you're creative and have a little imagination, then you can imagine how this carpet of life will spread until the world is covered in these beautiful flowers, and the cold and bitter and destructive of winter is only a memory.